Hey guys, welcome back. It's Meg. I forgot to start the recording early before we started the key, so you can find my stat weights in the top left, my legendary in the top right, and my talent choices and trinkets in the bottom right. I went ahead and popped Fallen Order, I opened the urn, I dropped my robot, and then we're just going to go ahead and start spinning. I'm sorry that the recording was a little scotched there, but everything else is normal from here on out. It is also a bursting week, so we're going to be using revivals mostly for a master spell, more once we get towards the gauntlet area, because that's where most of our bursting stacks are going to come from in this dungeon. It's a little more back heavy than others are in terms of the bursting stacks. Unfortunately very bad at the video game, and I just stood in a trap. I didn't see it at all, so I do die there, but I go ahead and run back because it's not that big of a deal. We haven't skipped anything, and I just have to deal with the fact that I am a terrible player. At this point, we always skip the brute, so you can either use invis pots or you can shroud. We have shroud, so we're going to go ahead and use that. When we don't have a rogue in the group, it is definitely worth committing an invis pot too. Went ahead and popped Fallen Order on pull here just to get the damage going. By the time that we need the Lieutenant, I do have Crane, but I will probably also have Fallen Order back up by the time we end up pulling that. It is a Fortified week, so I'm a little bit more concerned with ads and the health of my group coming out of a Fortified pack with bursting, more so than I am with having cooldowns going into bosses. Don't have any cooldowns for this pack, don't really need it. The only thing that is really happening is going to be the bursting ticks at the end as well as tank damage, but I do have a blood decay, so it's not that big of a deal for me to be paying attention to him so much, because they can take care of themselves pretty well. Gonna go into Incinerator here. I do have all of my cooldowns. We've got Fallen, Crane, Diffuse, and Revival, so we're going very healthy into this. We have a good amount of defensives up from the rest of the group as well, so this is just going to be pretty standard. Fallen Order, Crane, and then Fallen Order again. I might try and hold on to Crane here if it were a Grievous week going to the next boss, just because it can be pretty mana heavy. popped Chi-Ji for Mana Tea and just healed normally. I had Renewing Mist rolling, so it wouldn't really be that big of a mana sink, especially with tea, so that way we can have Crane for boss. For the first set of orbs, I went ahead and transcended back to boss, and then I popped Fallen Order, and we're just going to soak these as quickly as we can because I'm a Mistweaver and I like to show off what the class can do. So we just went ahead and soaked those all right away with Fallen running. We do have Crane coming up for next. We will also have a shorter cooldown on Fallen Order, and then we also have Revival still. And with this group, we do have a good amount of utility for soloing those slams, so that just saves mana for us. This smash is going to be Crane. I did drop my Transcendence, but I ended up not leaving just because I wanted to be able to soak 2 of them right away because I had stacks. I didn't want those to expire. And we can just go ahead and use our breaths, and we'll just soak 2 at a time here as we're going into this. On Tyrannical, I'd only soak 1 at a time before I started topping people again, but on Fort, you're pretty safe with 2. So T just came up. I also used Revival, and then I popped Fallen here. I think my thought process was that the boss is almost dead, so I might as well use it. I do kind of wish I would have held on to it though for the next pull that we're about to do, because that one has a lot more healing to do that is a little bit less predictable than this guy, so that would have been better for Fallen Order. Going back, I would have definitely held on to it. This is the pull I would have much rather had Fallen for, just because there's a little bit of more damage that I could have gotten out of it, as well as there's a lot more healing that I would have got out of it, especially with all of these dispels going out and everything like that. We did not have stops for everything. We don't have a boomkin, so we don't have beam, and it just got a little bit dangerous without something to commit to this. popped Fawn here just because I will likely be getting pushed out of melee, given that it is Oros in this very, very tiny hallway. So I just go ahead and use it here. It'll be up by the time that we need it again. On this pack, because we don't have the little imp things, you don't really need to use a cooldown, but I am just so used to that I do. I always use Crane here first because you do get the benefit of the dread bindings not even applying to you in the first place, so you get to use your Tiger's Lust on someone else, and you can stay in melee and get hit by more storming like I do. But Crane is generally the better choice here for your first one, just because you do get to negate the dread bindings. Unfortunately here I get knocked up by storming and then just completely blasted by all of these ads. I was the only one in line of sight at the time, so I got targeted by all of them, unfortunately. We go ahead and throw a B-res, I'll pop Fallen, and then I'm going to open the urn right away so we can get these stacks rolling. I do use Revival there just to top people up, just because I was afraid of those bolts going off. That was super unfortunate, but they are all synced up and we just don't have enough stops for them. So I kind of was playing peekaboo around the corner there, and then we're just trying to damage control here and keep people alive, trying not to lose too many stacks from the urn. That's normally a pull that I've done with the boomkin. I haven't done it without one so far, I don't think, so that was a little bit scary. I do go ahead and drop my robot here. I do end up losing Kess here to the Rack Soul as well as the Dread Bindings. I kept trying to dispel him and then it didn't hit, and then I kept trying to Tiger's Lust him and it wasn't going off, so I do end up losing him there. I'm not really sure what happened because I do have Tiger's Lust up, but sometimes things just don't work. This is probably one of those times. is a pug, mostly, so I wasn't quite used to pulling the janitor out here. Normally we do Varuth and the janitor together. The tank, I don't think, wanted to do that just because this guy can kind of slap, especially for a blood decay with the 50% reduced healing. So I think that was the decision-making process in splitting that up. But I do go ahead and use Fallen Order just because I'm a little out of mana, but we've got it on a 35-second cooldown, so by the time that we actually need it on Varuth, we will be fine to send it. Once you walk close to one of the lieutenants, when you're triggering the roleplay, it does actually stand you up. Even if you're not in combat, when you walk within a certain yardage of it, it will just stop your drink, which is super annoying. So I did just try and sit behind the wall there for a second, went ahead and popped Fallen and Fort Brew at the same time there. I'm just going to do some normal healing just to top myself off before the next shout, and then we're going to let Fallen do the rest of the work. I wanted to play it safe here, and I did end up taking Chalice for the Gauntlet, and just because it is fortified. Normally I don't take it unless it is a certain tyrannical dungeon, or if it's a Grievous week or something like that. But I did take it because I wanted to be safe. I have been using my mana pretty heavily, and that's where that choice came from. So that is just explained that, but normally I wouldn't take it outside of a couple dungeons or certain affixes. I went ahead and popped Fallen Order here as well, just because we have Urn running. I really don't want to be losing people to Throw Research, especially as we get into Bursting and Throw Research, and they are all synced up right now, so I don't want someone to get one-tapped by it by accident. I went ahead and used Crane here. I didn't mean to overlap T and Crane, but I did. Also, right here, there was, right here. Yeah, there's an explosive vellum that went off on Chi-Chi, but it died at the exact same time, so the ground effect didn't show. Our rogue proc cheat off of that. Our DH has tattoo, so he didn't end up dying, but what happens there is the cast goes off, but the animation disappears when the ad dies, but it still does damage when it lands. I've died to that, I can't tell you how many times. Probably at least 10 in here, whether it's someone getting knocked up by storming or them dying at the exact same time. It's kind of an annoying problem, but there wasn't really much I could have done about it. I didn't even realize that that's what had happened until I had gone back to rewatch the VOD for this commentary. I did go ahead and pop Fallen Order here just because I'm going to have it again before the boss, and this pack has a little bit of damage going out. This is going to be our urn pull, so I'm going to go ahead and walk in. We're going to call for the decurse on that guy, and we're going to go ahead and open it. I do get interrupted by storming, but we're just going to go ahead and do it again before anything dies. That is something to keep in mind. You don't want to take your urn to the last second just because you might get knocked out by a storming. Similar with volcanic weeks, you just don't want to cut it that close and risk ruining a run potentially just because you wanted to greed out a little bit more DPS, especially when you're a Mistweaver. There's not much DPS there anyway, so it's better just to pop the urn a little bit early than it would be a little bit late and just supplement it with toys. After that first fracture went out and the sever, we went ahead and popped lust. We still got all of our urn stacks, and we're just going to go ahead and melt this boss. We pulled the sentinel into it because we got kind of a bad roll on which one was active this week. We popped fallen just to help with the tank damage as well as the little bit of add damage we have going out. It should carry over to the next manifestation. If not, it will take care of our bursting. I did pop my fallen a little bit early for it to carry over to this manifestation, so I'm just going to go ahead and use Crane. Boss is at 50%, we've got revival, we've got all of our defensives, and then we still have about 40 seconds on Fallen Order, so if we need to use that, we will have plenty of options for healing to come. So what we're doing here is we just need a little bit more percent from the ring, so we went ahead and just grabbed that first cell, and we're just gonna go ahead and drag it downstairs, and we're gonna pull both of the packs here. We're gonna pop Fallen. They're going to evade for a little bit, but then they should just be fine to hit. They'll snap down and they will be attackable. This was the first time I'd done this pull, so you can see I'm kind of looking around trying to figure out where they're going to be coming from, but you can see my hits are evading. And they've stopped evading, so they're attackable. I go ahead and diffuse off that rack soul just to get a little bit of damage out, and we're just going to keep on spinning. catapult that one pat left into Sog. It doesn't do any physical damage, the only thing that'll affect is our tank gets meleeed by them just a little bit. It's not that big of a deal, especially for Blood Decay. Go ahead and pop Fallen here because it'll be up by the time you need it on boss. We have pretty much everything going into boss here. We've got about 30 seconds left on Fort Brew, and then Fallen will be coming back up shortly, but we do have Cocoon, Crane, Diffuse, and Revival. This boss is not nearly scary as it is on Tyrannical. That being said, it is still not really something to take lightly. You still want to make sure that you are assigning cooldowns and immunities and making sure that you are managing your defensives properly, as well as making sure that people that don't have defensives get more orbs than people that do. After that Fallen Order, this is going to be our Crane. I'm going to go ahead and grab the orbs over by the mage because we called for his block. He's not going to need these, so I went ahead and also used Fort Brew just to take care of this Endless Torment as well. Crane is going to be coming up here shortly once we can get back into melee and not be getting hit by those swirlies. I'm actually going to pull my cooldowns just a little bit. I don't really want to use any defensives here, not that I have any left from the boss, but if you did have some left over, just make sure you're holding on to them for the next pull, because that gauntlet pull, the very first one, it is a little bit scary. and drink before I go across, just in case we accidentally trigger combat. And then we're going to go ahead and shroud across. I used Tiger's Lust on myself before I got close to the ads, just so I made sure to get through a little bit quicker so I could take a little half-second sit before heading into the gauntlet. I'm going to go ahead and use Fallen Order right off the bat just because I want to make sure that I have a little bit of a defensive rolling without committing a 3-minute or a 2-minute to it. I do get that little bit of verse now, so you see I have 26% verse. If I were to get targeted by something, I would take just a little bit less damage. I also have Accretion, and then you just have that small shield that you get from Fallen Order as well. I went ahead and popped Crane here as well, just for sake of my mana bar, as we pulled in the cadets while we're still working on Kaal. We're pretty much stacked, so you do actually get pretty good value out of Enveloping Breath here. Gonna go ahead and just revival off those 6 stacks of bursting. That is probably the most bursting that you're gonna see in here, outside of doing some kind of double pull. Alright, and we went ahead and popped Fallen and opened the urn right away. We're going to go ahead and start spinning and just making sure that we are watching when Kaal is going to do her jump, because again, even on a fortified week, it does do quite a bit of damage. I do end up losing Kess here after the Gloom Squall. That was totally my fault. He was sitting at like 55 or 60% health for a very long time, and he was the jump target. I thought that he would have been okay at the health that he was at, but I think it was just enough to kill him, so that was my bad. We go ahead and B-res him though, just because it is a gauntlet, and we're not gonna really need it on the last boss. We still do have one left as well. I think I look at his death log after this, and it's like less than 200 health overkill or something like that. 133, yeah. So I was accurate in saying that I thought he would be okay, but even a tick of the bleed afterwards would have done him in. So I should have just topped him up and just been done with it instead of trying to do more damage. I went ahead and popped Fallen Order here mainly for the mana. There isn't a whole lot of damage going out, but it is going to help with the single target as well as anything from the dogs, so I just went ahead and used it for the sake of my mana bar, but I will be able to drink after this. I do have Crane coming up in about 30 seconds, so I think what ends up actually happening is I just sit for a brief second, but then we just go ahead and go straight into that next pack because I do have Crane. This isn't a whole lot of damage again outside of the tank mechanic, which again, blood decay shouldn't be a problem. We're also going to make sure that we're stopping those animated weapons because that's the damage that's going to be getting our DPS, if anything. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. Crane's up in about 5 seconds, and then we will just head into boss after the last pack. we're going to go ahead and lest. Something to keep in mind is while these Houndmasters are alive, the traps are still real, but once the Houndmaster dies, the traps are fake and you can walk over them, they'll despawn and they won't do any damage. It's not tyrannical and it's not grievous, so there's not really a whole lot of healing to do on this fight. I kind of just use Fallen Order on cooldown just to help out with the bleeds and also just that small bit of damage that we gain. This also helps if you use it during the shield phase, just because there is that little bit of burst damage. That brings us to the end of our 25 Fortified Sanguine Depths. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to hit me up on Twitch, Twitter, or Discord. I will post the guide, the FAQ, and my UI in the description, and I will see you guys all in the next video.